Go Multimédia presents Pocahontas, the Indian Princess. Pocahontas was a real person. She lived a long time ago in a village named after her father, Powhatan. Powhatan was the chief of his tribe. Peace reigned in Powhatan. The Indians had a happy life. They hunted and fished. The magnificent nature protected them. Until the day that the Pilgrims came and settled on their land. The Europeans believed the Indians to be savages without any culture. To the contrary, the Indians had their own civilization and had always lived in Powhatan. The Pilgrims came from Europe. They traveled for thousands of kilometers on this old ship. Have fun giving it some color. Until the day that the Pilgrims came and settled on their land. The Europeans believed the Indians to be savages without any culture. To the contrary, the Indians had their own civilization and had always lived in Powhatan. Pocahontas, who was brave and curious, wanted to meet the visitors. One morning, she saw a young man with blonde curls. His name was Captain John Smith. John Smith immediately fell in love with the lovely Indian. Their love seemed impossible. The Indians and the Pilgrims were enemies and preparing for a war. Pocahontas and John came from two very different worlds. You can find the objects that belong to each of them. John Smith immediately fell in love. Pocahontas found herself divided between the two sides. She introduced John to her father in hopes of avoiding a war. But a horrible thing happened. The Indians killed Cocuan, an Indian from Powhatan's tribe. Out of vengeance, Powhatan took Captain Smith as prisoner and sentenced him to death. The two sides were prepared to fight. So Pocahontas went to see her father. "You must avoid a terrible war," she told him. "And please, don't kill John. He is a good man, and I love him." Pocahontas dreamed in living in peace with the Pilgrims. Imagine a village where the Pilgrims and the Indians can both live. two sides were prepared to fight. Pocahontas finally convinced her father. He agreed to make peace and began to consider John Smith as a son. The Pilgrims and the Indians learned to live together. Unfortunately, John became very ill and had to return to London. Pocahontas did not receive any news from him and believed John was dead. She was immensely sad and lost all of her excitement for life. Pocahontas little by little forgot the image of John's face. Help her to remember the man that she loved. Unfortunately, John became very ill. To please her father, Pocahontas accepted to marry John Rolfe, a pilgrim who lived in the village of Powhatan. He and Pocahontas went to live in England. All of the kingdom wanted to meet Pocahontas. She had the reputation of being beautiful and wise. Pocahontas had to learn to speak English. Discover the first words she spoke.
Boat, book, later, horse, fish, house, dress, flower, sea, queen.
All of the kingdom wanted. A man with blonde curls invited Pocahontas to dance. It was John Smith. He had been taken prisoner during his return home. Both of them shed tears of joy and danced until dawn. You won! Good job, little artist. Click on the little girl or on the objects in the bathtub. You can play or listen to Annabelle's advice.
Dans mon bain, je suis bien sous la douche, je me mouche sous la pluie, je souris mais dans mon lit. Dans mon bain, je suis bien sous la douche, je me mouche sous la pluie, je souris mais dans mon lit. Mais dans mon lit, je fais pipi.